All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the show. It is good to see all of your smiling, happy faces, or at least it would be if I could see all of your smiling, happy faces. That's what I would say. In our side chat, we have Nan. Triceratops is not a Sauroptian dinosaur. Ian Debunked and Katina Packbays. Hello, all. Welcome, welcome. Joining me today is my host and co-host, Peter of Gonna Go For It fame.
Good evening.
And we have Nestle, one of my editors.
Hello, hello.
And very sadly for us at the show, this will be the last time for this year that Nestle joins us, correct? You won't be rejoining us till...
Yeah, I will be on a holiday break, so I just spending time with my family and friends.
That's ridiculous. I can't believe you would forsake us for family and friends. I can't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Those pesky holidays, the Dutch have far too many days off in a year.
Wouldn't you say that for you guys they're Hollandaise?
Hollandaise, yes. Holland, like the sauce. Hollandaise.
Like the sauce.
The Triceratops is not a Sauroptian dinosaur. That was a reference to the Dapper stream the other day. I think that was on Tuesday. Where what Charles Jackson says it's a Sauroptian dinosaur, referring to, he was meant to say Ceratopsian, but he said Sauroptian. I don't know.
Missing a few syllables here and
there. Yeah, it just literally didn't know the word. So I was like, okay, well. I've spent most of today, I've been reading through a Casey Luskin article for Rocks Volume 2 because so I drafted the chapter, and then RJ, so what I usually do is I draft the chapter, I'll kick it over to RJ, he edits it, adds a lot of stuff, and then he sends it back to me. I look it over one final time, and then we'll call it good. Well, this time when he sent it back to me, he had an info box that mentioned a Casey Luskin article in which, so this, for reference, was the article. Luskin wrote an article about the paper that described Tiktaalik. So he basically rolled his criticism of the initial paper by Shubin et al. 2006 and his criticism of Your Inner Fish into one article. And so I've been combing through that today, and it's frighteningly stupid. Just very dumb. Carl Zimmer.
What's the guy's names again? What's the guy's name?
Casey Luskin.
Oh, Casey Luskin.
Yeah, the guy who wrote Discovery U, the Not University. That guy.
And is he a paleontologist or anything related to paleontology? The answer may surprise you.
He is not. He is a geologist, which is not a paleontologist. And he makes that especially apparent with his discussion of fish paleontology, in which he complains, for one thing, that the article written... So when Shubin initially published his two papers on Tiktaalik, or when initially published papers, he did two. He did one paper that was essentially the cranial and post-cranial skeleton minus the fins, because he did a second paper that was specifically on the fins of Tiktaalik. Why? Because Tiktaalik has some really interesting stuff going on in its fins. It has a wrist, and it has the initial, like the very early starting points of fingers, essentially. It has the humerus, the radius and ulna. I got frozen there. Maybe not. It has the humerus, radius, and ulna, just like all tetrapods have. And then it has a couple of wrist bones. And then it has these radials, which are all these little bones that are not branched, and they're all nearly equal in size. And those bones would, in tetrapods later, become the hand and fingers. metacarpals and phalanges. And so Luskin, I keep freezing. Huh? So Luskin does a hack job at trying to argue that that Tiktaalik doesn't have a wrist, tries to argue that it doesn't have digits, and it's just really bad. It's a really bad article. Actually, Carl Zimmer responded to it back in 2006, and then Luskin did a response to Carl Zimmer, and then Carl Zimmer did another response to Casey Luskin. And so here we are, because in the article, or sorry, in the info box that RJ put in our paper, I realized that like it mentions these articles, but I realized we could be way meaner to Casey Luskin than RJ was. I can be far meaner, because Luskin deserves to have people be mean to him because he's a hack. So there's that. So that's what I was doing for most today.
And I have to confess, I think I saw the best Young Earth creationism video of all time this week because I agreed with everything in it. Literally.
Okay.
Yes. Kent Hovind went live with no slides, no sound, and no Kent Hovind. It was just his bookcase.
That's the best.
That was
kind
it.
of Kent Hovind video.
Yes, that was it. I agreed with the entire video.
At least no brain cells were lost in the production of this live stream.
I'm just wondering, there was a guy who hit the go live button, was watching his screen, seeing that no one was there, hearing nothing, and still managed to go on for quite some time before the live stream stopped. I mean,
interesting.
That's something about
any particular reason?
I have no clue. And the weird thing is they left it up. At least they left it up for over 24 hours because the next day I went and looked and it was still there. So I downloaded it because the best creationist live stream I've ever seen.
Triceratops. No, I wasn't being mean to RJ. I said RJ wasn't mean enough to Casey Luskin, so I was more mean to Casey Luskin. Because I don't like Casey Luskin. Let it be known.
Okay, Casey Luskin is complaining that Tiktaalik doesn't have the digits, but I believe it doesn't. I believe it doesn't have digits, right? Like it has letter radio.
It has distal radials, which if you look at, it has the distal most radials. Actually, it's like the 2 rows of distal radials it has are homologous to the distal radials that form phalanges in later tetrapods. So all those bones are homologous to each other. And so I've been wading through not only that paper, I've also been looking at other, so like Elpistostega also has a pretty similar arrangement, although it has a few more radials. So basically what happened was you had a small number of radials and this number got bigger. So they increased the number of rows of radials and the number of radials in each row. And that's how our fingers developed from the radials that were in the fish fins. Because a radial is just essentially these small like serial repeating bones that are unbranched. So he also complained he didn't have a wrist, which again depends on how you define wrist, because it does have the intermedium and ulnara, which is what we also have. We have those bones in our wrist, as well as all the tetrapods. But those are like the only carpal bones that Tiktaalik has. Again, the number of carpal bones, as well as metacarpals and the phalanges, the number of bones involved in all those simply increased as tetrapod evolution progressed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
I think it's kind of funny hearing a guy complaining about an animal having no wrist while he himself has no backbone.
And no brain.
And no brain.
So,
Also, the radials are the bones that are inside the palm of your hand, right? Those are the radials.
It is my understanding that radials encompasses that the expansion of the radials led to the phalanges. Mm-hmm. Is my understanding from this. Hold on one sec. This paper right here, Elpistostega and the Origin of the Vertebrate Hand. You'll have to use some methods to access it. There you go. There you go. Okay. So we go to that paper and you scroll down to their figure figure 4. You can see the radials. So you have your humerus, radius, ulna, and then your intermedium and ulnara. And then you have the radials. So in Pandorictes, you just kind of have these like 4 or 5 little radials that are all just kind of in a line, but they're not. They're kind of in an arc. So we didn't have digits. But then you have an expansion of that in Tiktaalik. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you have these 5 radials in Tiktaalik. And then you have an expansion of that. So you have 3 total rows of radials in Tiktaalik. And then in Elpistostega, you have 4 on a couple of the fingers. So it calls those digits on a couple of them. And then, of course, for Tulerpaton, you can see all of them in the traditional tetrapod configuration. So the digits would be these like couple little radials on the very end for Tiktaalik, is my understanding. Because Shubin refers to those as digits in his book. They basically use, also this paper uses radials in early tetrapod and stem tetrapods kind of interchangeably with phalanges. So here we adopt a definition modified from these references: parallel segmented non-branching endoskeletal elements that are relatively uniform in shape and size, so distal radials or phalanges, and that articulate one-to-one proximodistally at the distal end of vertebrate paired appendages. And then down a little bit further. So it refers to the ones in the presence of both digit-like distal endochondral elements, and Lepidotrychia and Elpistostega demonstrates that the basic architecture of the vertebrate hand evolved while the pectoral appendage was a typical functioning aquatic fin. Homology between digits and the distal radials of fins has previously been asserted by paleontologists from topologies observed in fossil fish fins. And then I'll talk about it a little bit later. Although digits and carpals have previously been thought to be a de novo specialization and unique to typical tetrapods, the emergence of carpals and digits within the fins of Elpistostegalians is not unexpected. As the discovery of tetrapod humerus ulna radius pattern was first identified in Eusthenopteron over a century ago, it is possible that the potential ability of the pectoral fin to bear weight, and so on and so on. So it's my understanding that as in these derived tetrapodomorphs, they're referring to these end distal radials, the most distal radials, as digits.
Yeah.
Seems to me that's how they're referring to those. Which is how I also understand Neil Shubin is referring to them for Tiktaalik, because there's not very many of them. So anyway,
and you have to establish a consistent definition to describe these things. Like if you go back far enough, then like everything becomes like, oh, can you call this a radial? Or like same thing with the eye. Like, can you call a what was the microorganism again? I forgot the name. I think it's
Euglena. Yeah, Euglena.
Yeah. Like Regilina has like this organelle, which contains a pigment which allows it to like respond to light. Is that an eye? Like,
Right.
how do you define an eye? Like,
Is a
you get
single
situations like
photoreceptor
that.
an eye? Does it have to be a
Yeah.
sheet of photoreceptors? Yeah, exactly. Like which of course you would expect if there's a variety or if there's a variety of these things and there's like an evolutionary sequence. If there's an evolutionary sequence, it gets hard to figure out, is something this or is it something else? So, but yeah. So anyway, so that's all going to be in Rocks 2. I also am. I don't think we have elsewhere in the book, and I need to check back through Rocks Volume 1, but I want to have an info box on Harun Yahya, just because of how silly he is. He's just a silly little guy. I want to include both the fishing lures fiasco, as well as the the stuff that we've seen in this video, like what was it, Palele sucus, like the fake fossil. And
that one was weird because I cannot confirm it is a fake. It's just because I only see it appearing on these websites that sells this as a fossil. I don't see it anywhere on Google Scholar or any like peer-reviewed paper. It only exists on these websites where they sell stuff. So that's just it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we didn't talk about him really in Volume 1. So I want to have an info box where we just roast him in the second book. Yeah. No, we don't really talk about him. Okay. So yeah, I want to talk about, so not only the fishing lure stupidity, but also the fake fossils, the confusing herrings with tarpon, and what was the other one? Oh, the pipefish with the trumpet fish. So all stuff that
the herring with the tarpon, also.
Yeah. So the herring with the tarpon and the pipefish with the trumpet fish. Yeah. So I want to have. Oh, and what else? And what was the other one? He said Pachypleurosaurus was a lizard. That was the other one. So
and you could include the half animals that we're at right now. Half.
And if I'm not mistaken, the Pachypleurosaurus is more related to the what's it called again? The plesiosaur, right?
It's one of the Sauropterygians, but he calls it a lizard, which it is not. So yeah. But yeah, so I'll figure out some place to put that in chapter 4 of Rocks Volume 2. So yeah. So anyway, it's fun. We're going through destroying creationism.
Yeah. And also calling it a lizard is also like, there isn't just one type of lizard out there. Like it's like, oh, it's a lizard, it hasn't changed. And looking at all the how many species of lizards are out there, like even not including the snakes, you still have like about thousands of species of lizards out there.
Right.
Yeah. Like more mammals than there are. Like there are more lizards than there are mammals, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, what's a few thousand species between friends, huh?
It just goes to show that they have no perspective. It has no depth to it. They think like, oh, it's one type of lizard. It's just lizard. Like that's all there is.
They haven't talked about like anything. They haven't talked about anything that's not like a modern group at all throughout this entire thing.
Well, basically what they did is compare fossils to anything that's alive now. And only based on it kind of looks the same. So it must be that.
Yep. That's pretty much it, yeah.
Yeah. which is how Hovind defines kind. So probably
it's
the
the
thing.
what is it called? What is it called when it just looks kind of the same? Cognitum. That's what it was. The cognitum. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of looks similar. So I mean, it might as well be the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So.
which is ironic, because if you do like do a poll among creationists and ask them, oh, is this fossil an ape or a human? And depending on the fossil you have, like, you will end up with an answer like, oh, half of the creationists says it's a human, and the other half will say it's an ape.
Mm-hmm.
You can do stuff like that, basically.
Yeah.
One of my favorite Hovind debates, by the way, is and I keep forgetting the guy's name, and he was brilliant. He confronted Hovind with 2 skulls and asked him whether or not they were human or ape.
The guy who died, yeah.
No, he died?
Wasn't it?
No.
You're talking about the anthropology guy who had the PowerPoint?
No, this was a teacher, and at a university or a college. I forgot. I keep forgetting the guy's name. But he confronted Hovind that Hovind, back then, in his bookstore, had 4 books of people talking about fossils. In one book, both skulls were human. In the second book, both were apes. In the third book, the first was human and the second was ape. And in the fourth book, the first was ape and the second was human. So he had all 4 possibilities, and he endorsed all 4 books. And so he said, I'm confused now, so can I have your opinion? And he asked him, I think 3 or 4 times during the debate, and Hovind refused to acknowledge even the question, let alone answer it.
That's great. What a dunce.
Yeah. But yeah, that's creationism for you, isn't it? I mean,
true. That is creationism.
More not Dr. Dino, more like Dr. Dance. Yeah.
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 Dr. Dunce. Yep. Okay. All right. Well, are you guys ready to finish up? Hopefully with with this video.
Aye, Captain.
The half an animals.
I can't hear you.
it's the half an animals. Let's go.
Half reptile, half birds, semi-finned, semi-tailed, half-winged, half-legged, eyeless, earless, one-eyed, one-eared life forms, all imperfect and deficient in some way.
We do have blind animals.
That's true.
Darwin,
we do have.
Who was well aware of this fact, said in his book, The Origin of Species,
he sure didn't.
If my theory be true, numberless intermediate varieties linking most closely all of the species of the same group together must assuredly have existed.
Hey, Peter, pause for a second. Okay, so what Harun just said there was what we call in the business a fat lie. So he's doing a bait and switch here. So what Harun is saying is that if there are intermediate fossils, what they should look like is something that is halfway between the 2 organisms they're supposed to look like. But that is literally the exact opposite of what Darwin, of how Darwin conceived of transitional species. So if I don't know if I can find the quote. I don't know if I'll be able to find it.
Like I was also I'm also thinking about the same quote as well. Like
he literally says somewhere in Origin of Species that it's
like direct intermediates. Something about direct intermediates, right?
This is a principal competition. Is this it? this may be okay. I found it difficult when looking at. Oh, here we go. Yes, I found it.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's it. That's it. Yes,
directly
that's it.
intermediate. In the first place, it should always be borne in mind what sort of intermediate forms must, on my theory, have formerly existed. I have found it difficult when looking at any two species to avoid picturing to myself forms directly intermediate between them, but this is a wholly false view. We should always look for forms intermediate between each species and a common but unknown progenitor, and the progenitor will generally have differed in some aspects from all its modified descendants. Okay, so what Harun is saying here is absolutely incorrect.
Basically, like Darwin was saying right there, he was saying like, "Oh, we wouldn't expect things like a crocodile. We wouldn't expect those things at all because those are like random amalgamations of modern forms. But when you have to think about in deep time because the common ancestor of two living species can be quite different than just hybridizing them. Basically, it's not the same thing."
Yeah, so Harun again just does not understand anything about evolutionary biology. So, I mean, part of the course, right? Part of the course. Anyway. All right, we can keep going.
Consequently, evidence of their former existence could be found only amongst fossil remains. When we look at the fossil record, however, we see no intermediate forms at all. On the contrary, we encounter fully formed,
Are you sure
flawless,
about that?
complex, and perfect life forms. Those that have not gone extinct are no different from those living today.
What species of crab is that? What species of turtle is that? This whole thing is just fine, basically. What species of fly is that? What species of fish and shrimp is that? Just fish. Just
Darwin
fish.
was also aware of the complete lack of the intermediate form fossils he had proposed. In fact, he even predicted that this would represent a major stumbling block for his theory. He therefore wrote the following in the chapter titled Difficulties on Theory in the Origin of Species. Why, if species have descended from other species by insensibly fine gradations, do we not everywhere see innumerable transitional forms? Why is not all nature in confusion instead of the species being, as we see them, well defined?
So, pause for a moment.
But
so this is really kind of two separate issues that are kind of being rolled into one, but there are really two different issues going on here. So one is, why don't we see innumerable transitional forms? And actually, Darwin addressed this. Erosion is a thing that happens. For you to find a fossil of something, that organism must have been sequestered relatively quickly, right? I mean, we do find fossils of organisms that do bear like scavenging marks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But for a lot of, especially for organisms to be preserved very well, they have to be sequestered pretty quickly, either like being in some place that's like anoxic, or covered with sediment rather rapidly, or something like that. And that's doesn't happen super often. But we do have lots of transitional forms. One thing that they noticeably never discussed in this video was like phytoplankton. We have literal mountains of different species of phytoplankton. And as you go down them, you can see the transitions from like one species to another. These are all over the planet. But no discussion of that because they don't know anything about phytoplankton, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Additionally, the question do what? Go ahead.
But I think like Darwin, like in this quote, Darwin was referring to like the living species. Like why don't we see like many transitionals alive today, for example. And I think his main explanation was extinction. Like because of extinction, you'll see like big divisions between groups. Like today, birds as a group are very distinct from their closest cousins, the crocodilians. But of course, when you look in the fossil record, you will see that there are many intermediates on both sides, even.
Yeah, and so regarding the second question, like why are species not just all grading insensibly into each other? Well, that's going to be because like there are only so many niches that you can occupy, right? And organisms have to compete for resources, and so variations are going to occur that give certain organisms advantages over others, and there's going to be that natural selection for populations that have particular variations. So
I think like if you have a species complex, for example, like there are exceptions where you do have like this confusion that Darwin is referring to here. There are some instances where this confusion does happen with species complexes, but I suspect that those instances are very unstable in the long term. They tend to either break up apart or mingle together again, and so this is a very unstable situation. That's why most cases we see like more or less neatly species, but even then, of course, we are now once again down the road of the whole species problem, and again, but still, in most cases they don't appear to be like a like ring species, for example, is a good example of a confusion where like where do you draw the line? Like are they the same species or different species? And then those instances are unstable, I believe.
I would agree with that. Yep, exactly. There was a paper by what was it? There's a famous paper that's about like why are there not endless species, and it was along the same lines. What was that paper called?
Why are there no infinite species, or
something like that? I can't remember what that paper was called. Dang. Anyway, it was a famous paper from like it was the 80s or 90s, and it basically did the math to like the population genetics math to be like, okay, this is why you can't have just continuous species everywhere. Oh well, whatever. All right, we can keep going.
As by this theory, innumerable transitional forms must have existed, why do we not find them embedded in countless numbers in the crust of the Earth? Why then is not every geological formation and every stratum full of such intermediate links? Geology assuredly does not reveal any such finely graduated organic chain, and this perhaps is the most obvious and gravest objection which can be urged against my theory.
Pause for a moment. It is funny that by the time Darwin penned the 6th edition of Origin of Species, he was already aware of a number of transitional fossils, and he included them in Origin of Species. So like the Archaeopteryx was found just 2 years after the first edition, and then Compsognathus was found a little bit later, and there are a lot of similarities between Compsognathus and Archaeopteryx because it's a member of I'm drawing a blank here. Both are well, not just theropods. They're both coelurosaurs, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, so they're both in Coelurosauria, so they recognize that. There were what was it? There were some manatees, some early manatees that were known. There were some
Pisosiren, or maybe a different one.
Ooh, what? Hold on. I know how to find it. Give me 1 sec. Well, Stegodon was an elephant that they had that was like had intermediate characteristics between like modern elephants and mastodons, for instance, because mastodons were a bit more. Here we go. Okay, I found it. All right. So Darwin said no one will deny that Hipparion is intermediate between the existing horse and certain other ungulate forms. The Sirenia form is the Sirenia form a very distinct group of the mammals, and one of the most remarkable peculiarities in existing dugong and lamington, which is a word for manatees, is the entire absence of hind limbs, without even a rudiment being left. But the extinct Halotherium had, according to Professor Flower, an ossified thigh bone articulated to a well-defined acetabulum in the pelvis, and it thus makes some approach to ordinary hoofed quadrupeds, to which the Sirenia are in other respects allied. The cetaceans or whales are widely different from all other mammals, but the tertiary Zeuglodon, which is now called Basilosaurus, and Squalodon have been placed by some naturalists in an order by themselves, are considered by Professor Huxley to be undoubtedly cetaceans, and to constitute connecting links with the aquatic carnivora. Oh, and then referring to the Archaeopteryx. Even the wide interval between birds and reptiles has been shown by the naturalist just quoted to be partially bridged over in the most unexpected manner. On the one hand, by the ostrich, an extinct Archaeopteryx, and on the other hand, by Compsognathus, one of the dinosaurians, that group which includes the most gigantic of all terrestrial reptiles. So Darwin was aware of quite a few transitional fossils.
Mm-hmm. And if I get the story correctly, the first Archaeopteryx fossil that was discovered, or the first specimen, lacked a head, right? Like it was.
I think so.
The head was missing. Yeah.
And
you have Richard Owen predicting if you discovered the head, then the head would just be a normal bird head with a beak and no teeth. But then when the new specimens of Archaeopteryx was discovered, they found that it had no beak, but it did have teeth.
Yeah, that's it was also, if I remember correctly, the hallux looked inverted, but it wasn't actually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I also believe that this is one of Huxley's argument that one specimen of Archaeopteryx did not preserve the feather impression. So without the feathers, the Archaeopteryx was confused for Compsognathus. But then when they looked at it more closely, then wait, it is Archaeopteryx, but it just did not preserve the feathers in this instance. So and Huxley was like, hey, wait a minute, if we so easily confuse the two, does it mean something? Maybe that means that they are very close in some sense.
Yeah. There was I was actually just looking today at I was rereading about William Beeb's prediction of a Microraptor earlier this morning.
He called it the Traptorix, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, and that
was his prediction. Yeah,
that's just so cool. He in 1915, so almost 100 years prior to the discovery of Microraptor, he predicted it based on the modern characteristics of birds. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Although the details were a bit off because I don't believe no theropod could have splayed out the hind legs like that. So it's more likely that the hind wings were used as a stabilizer more than a wing like an airfoil basically.
Right. Yeah.
Or for lift. Yeah. So they couldn't spread out their legs from side to side,
like a squirrel,
yeah. Their bones wouldn't allow for that, so they held their legs a bit at an 45 degree angle, I think, or something like that, 45 degree, and to stabilize during gliding or flight. Yeah, and Archaeopteryx also had that as well, although not to the same extent as I think Microraptor is the best example of the four-winged species, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else that has been discovered that is similar to Microraptor, because it's a very basal Dromaeosaurid, and there's a couple other ones like Housecaraptor, but that one's like adapted for like diving, so it doesn't have the. Yeah, it's a very odd little guy, but what is kind of cool about it is that it also gives weight to the hypothesis, or gives lift perhaps, to the hypothesis that Dromaeosaurid, like the common ancestor of like dromaeosaurs and troodontids and avialans, was like capable of this kind of gliding thing where it has the like asymmetrical flight feathers on the front and back, and then birds just kind of took that to a further extent in the powered flapping. So
like I do believe that like the more research has been done recently, the more likely it is that these like as you mentioned, the ancestors to both avialans and dromaeosaurus, and also to troodontids, like I think they are called the Eumeniraptors, right? They are like collectively they are called Eumeniraptors.
Or is that Paraves or Eumeniraptors?
Oh, Paraves, specifically Paraves, And I believe that in the Paraves, the original Parave probably used their wings as a very dynamical form of movement through the ground, and as also to the trees. Like you have winged assistant inclined running.
Right.
They use their wings to climb up a tree, and they can also, of course, use their wings to descend. Maybe not even climb, but just to as a parachute, basically, just to get to the ground fast. It's there are many different ways that you can use wings for, not necessarily for flight, and not even for gliding. You can also use them, like, for example, if you ever like raised chickens and you try to catch one by running after it, you will find it is very difficult because they use their wings to basically augment their running. Like they can change directions and hop very quickly using their wings and such. And I also believe that there was a recent paper, now that I mentioned it, was a recent paper that looked at fossilized footprints of.
Oh yes, it was. I think it was a Microraptor, wasn't it? And they argued that because it's hopping, so it was using
it's hopping.
It's using its arms, its feathered arms, to like get a small lift essentially, because it's just hopping across the ground rather than like walking as you would expect like theropods to do. So which is super cool. That is like it doesn't get any better than that in terms of like fossil evidence for for that. Super cool.
So it's also like the wings can augment many different things, even running. Like it doesn't necessarily mean flying or gliding. It can also mean like you augment. Like it's also something that like cheetahs use their tail as a stabilizer for when they run down their prey.
I just put there in the side chat that's the Microraptor
that's the paper.
Which super cool. He's bouncing. He's going does it say how far he jumps like each time? I haven't read this paper yet. I just have it saved.
Like maybe it was running towards a prey and used its wings to give itself an extra kick to catch up to it, or maybe it was running away from something else and using its wings to kick itself or give itself a boost. Basically,
he's jumping. Wait, is this it? Assuming only hind limb driven cursorial locomotion, the track maker's proposed travel speed was calculated to be 10.5 meters per second. That's cool, but how far was he jumping? What were the jumps between? I don't know. Anyway, he was going pretty fast, and he's putting a lot of
that's 23 miles per hour. That's 10.5 meters per second is 23.5 miles per hour.
So he's going pretty fast. Fast little guy. Chickens know they have no plot armor and will make it your problem. Says Alex Markle. Okay. All right, we can keep going.
And Darwin's fears did indeed become a reality.
Did they?
For some
You sure about that?
150 years now, evolutionists have been digging through the Earth's geologic strata, but have not encountered even one single intermediate form, of which there should, according to their own calculations, be trillions.
According to my calculations.
Fictitious and deceptive concepts produced by evolutionists, such as primitive life forms, gradual evolution, transition among species, intermediate forms, and missing links, have been consigned to the realm of myth by living fossils.
Yeah, I wonder who made up the crocodile. I wonder who said that was. Never be unearthed, huh?
Faced with this intermediate form dilemma, Darwin's only explanation was that the fossil record of his time was insufficient. In putting forward his theory, Darwin claimed that living species are evolved from one another, and when the fossil record is examined,
he didn't
millions
say
of
that.
intermediate forms will be found, in the hope that these would be discovered in due time.
I mean, that's true, and he was
The
right.
fact is,
so,
however, that today's fossil record is sufficiently rich to completely demolish Darwin's claim. Between Darwin's time and the present day, some 100 million fossils belonging to 250,000 species recorded by scientists have been collected. Yet there is not one single intermediate form fossil among them.
Isn't it interesting how he says that, but doesn't show, like, most groups of
Today,
fossils?
99% of the fossils in the Earth's strata have been unearthed and examined.
I
The
find
total
that
absence of any
extraordinarily hard
such
to
transitional fossils among
what?
them shows that it
Do we
Where
know?
did he get
Hold
that
on.
number?
Do we know how they got
I
that
would like-
number? Because that
I
would,
have no idea.
that would imply that they know the total number of fossils
Correct.
in the ground.
You're right.
Like,
Yeah, how on earth would they calculate that? According to my calculations, that would be a big number.
Are they like referring to the figure that like over 99% of species are extinct?
I think it's
Okay, and
probably
then
the
maybe,
same.
Maybe you are very confused. Maybe
I
you're very confused, perhaps.
Yeah, I think the same evolutionist who calculated that there should be trillions of fossils is the one who came up with the total amount of fossils too. I don't. How?
Yeah, I do not know.
Well-
I've never heard that one. That's a new argument for me.
Yeah, that's
Leon Kennedy says, "My source is I made it the fuck up."
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I don't yeah. I don't know. I've
I'm
never
curi-
heard this argument before.
I'm really curious. If we have found 99.9% of all fossils, which means that we know how many there are, why haven't we dug up that last little bit? Because we know they're there, right?
It's
But we all-
because the
if we-
Jews are keeping it from us, obviously.
We know
That's
they're
what-
there. We also know where they are.
Yeah, that's why we can't get to them. They're being kept from us.
Uh-huh.
The Smithsonian doesn't want us to have them because it's the Nephilim fossils. That's where it is.
That's probably it.
Yeah.
Those
Or actually,
questions-
no, they
I
destroyed
su-
them, didn't they? Didn't they
Yes.
destroy the
Yeah.
Nephilim fossils? Wasn't that the argument?
yeah,
But I
they,
suspect that they were looking at. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
that they had them on display for a bit, according to some creationists, and then they disappeared. So they might not have been destroyed, but they're hidden from the general public, at least.
Okay. I got you. Yeah,
Us-
we can't let people get to those.
Mhm.
What were you going to say, Nestle?
Oh, I was just saying that I suspect that they were looking at the figure that over 99% of species are extinct, and they think that maybe they know that 99% of species that are extinct are known to us, but no, it's an estimation of what used to be there. But now most of the 99% that's extinct are not known to us in the fossil record, and they don't know that. I think that's the misunderstanding they are making. I think, at least. That's the only reason why I can. Yeah, that's the only reason why I think they can. They say that 99% of the fossil record is known to us. It's very strange.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, we can keep going.
It is logically impossible that these imaginary life forms will suddenly emerge from the remaining 1%. To hope, nonetheless, that intermediate life forms will one day be found is nothing more than evolutionist wishful thinking. Thomas Neville George, a professor of geology at the University of Glasgow.
Like I am, a couple of years ago, I've heard that we are living in the golden age of paleontology, because like we discover so many new species every year, like a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like it just like is it still an exponential increase? I don't know if it's an exponential increase. It's with the number of new species described in the fossil record.
I mean, species descriptions in general are kind of exponential, aren't they? I'm pretty sure they are, because there was a paper on that. Hold on, it was like estimating the number of species. Was it Moreira, like 2008 or something like that? What was that? It was like estimating the number of species. It was that 2008, I think?
Yeah, around, like, for example, dinosaurs, around 50 new dinosaur species are described each year, according to National Geographic at least. Probably true, but of course, National Geographic is not always reliable, as we may know.
I gotta find this paper, or is it Mora? Oh, now I gotta find it because I'm gonna lose my mind if I don't. Oh, there's a paper. Hold on. There's a paper. I know I have it. Open. Give me 1 sec, folks. I gotta find this paper now. What was that? Oh, what was that paper called? It was about the number of species that are known. Dang it. What? How many species on Earth? Where is that freaking paper? Was it 2000? It was like let's see, 2010. I'm gonna lose my mind. Okay, we can just keep going. I'm gonna try to find it. I'll try to find it. We'll see if I can.
Admitted as much a long time ago.
We can keep
there is no need to apologize any longer for the poverty of the fossil record. In some ways, it has become almost unmanageably rich, and discovery is outpacing integration. The fossil record nevertheless continues to be composed mainly of gaps. Evolutionists constantly attempt to answer the question of how life emerged and developed by resorting to speculation. But were they to interpret fossils going back hundreds of millions of years in an unprejudiced and objective manner, they would easily find the answer to that question.
Is that what you're doing? Unprejudiced? Yep, it's just a beetle. Just a bug. That starfish is not 500 million years old. We've been over this.
Pause for a moment. Like I do believe that like maybe not exactly 500 million years ago, but at some point like the starfish were like, or at least the echinoderms were like bilaterally symmetrical almost.
That was the first ones. Like that was like 530 or 40 million years. So like at the start of the Cambrian, you have bilaterally symmetric echinoderms, and then they became, was it like trilaterally symmetric or something like that? They became weird. Like then they became asymmetrical, and then they developed their pentaradial symmetry, which is exactly the developmental process they go through when they're juveniles. They start out as bilaterally symmetric, then they go through an asymmetric phase, then they become pentaradial. I'm not saying that's sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. I'm sorry. I'm still looking for this paper. It's driving me insane.
Like it's about the rate of discovery, right, for new species, like living species or extinct species.
It talks about, it's a paper that talks about how many species it estimates the number of species that might be on Earth, and does that by looking at how many species are discovered per year as part of it. And so
like if there's a limit, you would expect to eventually see the line like curve downward, right? Yeah.
I freaking found it.
Yay!
Here's that godforsaken paper. Here, I'm putting it here in our side chat. There it is. Good lord.
What's the number it says?
2011. Oh, okay, I was wrong on the year. It's how many species are there on Earth and in the ocean, and figure 1 is predicting the global number of species in Animalia from their higher taxonomy, and it looks at the rate of species discovery as like to inform its count. So that was the paper I was looking for.
43.
Jackson, I think this is the best. This is the best moment for you to engage in some audience participation. I think people in chat should be able to put in links to pictures of a present day bird as opposed to this 50 million year old bird.
Okay.
Do we know what a present day bird looks like?
Do we know what a present day bird looks like?
Yeah, I mean, so you got a fossil there, right, of a 50 million year old bird. So that would imply that there is a present day bird as well, which is just a bird.
Yes. It's just a bird.
It's just a bird.
They're just birds, yeah. There's only one species of bird.
Yeah.
And this fossil reminds me of something, but I don't know like what it reminds me of. Like, do you know what species this is? Maybe.
I wonder if that's just like a chicken or something.
It looks like a pigeon to me, at least.
Well, let's see. Pigeon skeleton. All right. Let's see. Hold on. Let me go back and look. The head's a bit big, but it.
Looking at the beak, that looks like a pigeon. So
it could be just a pigeon. Yeah, in which case it'd probably be just a modern pigeon.
Yeah. So, Smitty, both times you're wrong. It's not a duck. It's also not. What's the other one? An eagle or a hawk?
Wait.
My bird is getting annoyed that we're talking about birds.
I found that fossil.
Is it a bird?
I also found it, yeah.
It's called a Primo Bucco. Ancient bird fossil, Primo Bucco. Here is... So, early Miocene. Okay, so... We found it for once. We
Buco.
found the thing they're talking about. So let's
Oh,
see.
it's not a pigeon. No, I was wrong.
So it's a member of the kingfishers, bee eaters, and rollers. It's placed in its own family that is totally extinct. Okay.
It's part of the Coraciformes. Or
So
maybe I
what you're
pronounce it
telling me
wrong.
is it's not a modern bird, and it's
an extinct. It's part of an extinct family. Yeah.
Yep, part of an extinct family. That's so weird. If it's just a modern bird, why isn't it like, identical to modern birds? That's so crazy. Okay. I don't even care enough.
It's also from the Mesopit apparently. Yeah.
Yay, Mesopit. We love our German birds. Okay. I mean, like, all right. Do we really have to go over the characteristics of this bird that separate it from other birds? I mean,
I don't really have time. I was also wondering how many before we forget about it, how many species does the paper estimate is out there?
Oh, the paper? Okay, so it says this paper says that there are it predicts on land that there are 750,000 animals that are organisms that are on land. So 8,750,000 terrestrial species total.
Like also macroscopic plants and also bacteria and such. Or
that's what it says. Yeah. So it has. If you go to table 2, it has animals, chromists, fungi, plants, protozoans, then archaeans and bacteria. Different species, adds them all up, and says it has a standard deviation of 1,300,000. It says we've identified, this was as of 2011, 1,244,360 species on land. And then in the ocean, it predicts. So it says in the ocean we've cataloged 194,409, but it predicts 2,210,000 species with a standard with a error bar of 182,000 species. So standard error. So
it says in the abstract that according to their estimations, some 86% of existing species on Earth still require description. So that's a lot. Over 2/3 of all species are still not described yet.
Yeah. So this this paper, because you've probably heard before that there's that the number of species on Earth. I'm sorry, not standard deviation, standard error. My bad. Leon, sorry. That you've probably heard that there's a range of the number of species that exist on Earth, and some people put it down more towards like 10 million. Some people put it upwards towards like 100 million. And so this paper puts it way down in the gives a very conservative estimate of about 10 million. So, which is still a lot. It's still way more.
But I see in the table, like table 2, there is like prokaryotes, and in Archaea it says 1 cataloged in the ocean. So I see only 1 in the ocean.
That is a little odd. I'm not entirely sure about that.
Yeah. Maybe Archaea is very I think Archaea are very how do you call it? Like syntropic. They are very often found not in isolation. So maybe describing them in isolation is very difficult, perhaps. Yeah.
I wonder if somewhere in the paper they talk about Archaea. Like, yeah, sorry, we just don't have numbers on these. Because it says on land, it says there's like 502 described on land, and then 1 described underwater. Like, that's kind of weird. There's a lot.
And I searched the word for Archaea in the paper and only mentioned it once in the table. Only one mention of Archaea. Yeah.
Do they have supplemental materials? Yes. I wonder if it'd be in the first. Well, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Anyway, you guys can download that paper for yourselves and read it. But yeah, 1 arcane is a little odd. So
I think it's also the case that like Archaea are like there is no known pathogenic Archaea known. So like Archaea is a very understudied group for that reason, because there is no like medical necessity to research Archaea. It's very so that's why there are like hundreds of papers out, like thousands of papers out there for like E. coli and Salmonella and such, because they can actually hurt us, but Archaea cannot hurt us.
I do wonder what their data is for. I wonder what data they're relying on. I don't know. Okay, anyway, we can keep going.
That looks exactly not like it.
You know, they didn't even pick the right group of living birds. They picked the wrong group. That's an Anseriform, whereas Primobuco is in the Carassiforms.
Yeah.
So if you look up
kingfishers, right?
Yeah, it's in the same group as kingfishers, and they picked like a goose. Good job, guys. Good job. You're good at your jobs.
You done goofed.
I think this might be a stork, not a goose.
Or stork. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, but still, like they picked the completely wrong group.
Yeah.
Although goose is a lot closer to a stork than this is. Yeah.
I was so hoping they came up with a roadrunner, because it looked like the fossil was running away from the flood.
Yes, that's what it was doing.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm wrong. Like a stork is a completely different group. Yeah, you're right. It's not in the answer form. No.
Either way, they picked the wrong group of birds. Yeah, they picked the wrong group either way. So it's just like when they represented herrings with a tarpon, which is again completely wrong.
Now you're nitpicking, Jackson. This is definitely a bird. There's no arguing with that.
That's true. That is a bird. It is
a bird, and the other one was a bird. So
they said bird, and they gave us bird. You know,
exactly the same. If you squint, then they look exactly the same.
Yeah, you close one eye, close the other eye.
Yeah.
Life and the universe itself are not the work of blind chance. And all things, living or otherwise, were created by Almighty God.
And I've always wondered, if Almighty God created all these wonderful animals, why did he let 99.9% go extinct?
No, Peter, he didn't do that to them. They just didn't get on the ark, obviously. That was their fault.
Or Noah was too lazy and did not build the ark.
Noah didn't.
You know what? We're not taking the mastodons.
Noah didn't have enough bird seed for all the birds to come on the ark.
Yeah. He said, "Sorry, Primobuco, you gotta stay. You gotta come with us."
He built the ark in feet instead of meters. he used the wrong unit.
By the way,
the wrong metric system.
Not enough gopher wood.
By the way, Nestle, have you started a GoFundMe yet to buy the ark in Amsterdam? It does have a very, very nice pair of giraffes on the upper deck. I mean,
are the giraffes included in the
yes,
purchase?
yes, you get everything. So even the
All right,
giraffe
I
inside.
am sold. I'm about to
There's
start a GoFundMe. Yeah.
There's a giraffe inside, and the guy had a lot of humor because he put the giraffe inside on the bottom deck, and then because it was so tall, he made a hole in the floor above so the giraffe could stick its neck to the upper floor. It's insane, but it's nicely built. I mean, 7 stories high. You could rent out apartments. It's that big.
Cool.
Yeah, for a cool 4 million, Jackson. Why wouldn't we buy it? Someone needs to start
let's
a
get
GoFundMe.
Elon Musk to buy it. He'll probably inevitably drown the ship. So,
he's
and maybe he'll be on it.
He's far too busy being the first lady soon, so I wouldn't count on him.
What is it with giraffes? Giraffes are cool. Everybody likes giraffes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All the fossils unearthed from excavations reveal that in all periods of history,
excavations,
not excavations, excavations,
and all the animals were created in a single moment, which explains that most of it went extinct at the flood, and now we have more animals that were on the ark. Were all created in that one single moment. Makes sense.
living things were created in a perfect and complete manner, with no evolutionary forerunners.
Okay, pause for a moment. Okay, pause for a moment. Do you remember the turtle fossil that was just shown?
Okay.
It had a very long tail. Like, I don't know if are there any turtles out there with such
Hey,
long
let's see.
tails?
How old did it say it was? 54 million years. That was what?
54 million years old.
Eocene turtle fossil. Survey says. I found a picture of one from that seems to have a pretty long tail. Let's see. This boy right here. This is Chisternon undatum. He's got a long tail. Is this the fossil they used? Apparently there are some so yeah, it looks like these turtles are from the Eocene, I guess. They just kind of have some long tails. Baena arenosa. Yeah, I guess there are some turtles with long tails from the Eocene. Looks like it.
Yeah, like are they stem turtles or something? Like, because I'm not familiar with modern turtles with such long tails. Can you copy paste the name in the live chat or in the?
Yeah, I can do that. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, it looks like they might be some kind of stem turtle. Okay, so this is okay. So this is the. I think this is the same. Here, I'm putting it in our side chat here, or putting it in our the chat, the public chat.
Yeah.
So that one is a Baenid turtle, an extinct family of paracryptodiran turtles from the early Cretaceous to the Eocene. Okay, so I'm not very familiar with turtle.
Not a stem. It's not a stem turtle. It's a stem cryptodire. All right.
Okay, I'm not super familiar with turtle phylogenetics, so I need to look at. Okay.
Oh, but we did a video about that many years ago.
Yeah, we did. That was a ways back.
Yeah.
I've slept since
Yeah.
then. I'm sorry. Let me see. Hold on. There's got to be a systematics. Here we go. Okay. All right. So within test two dynes, you have two groups. You have Pluridyra and Cryptodyra, and we were looking at. So Baena was in. What did it say? A Paracryptodyra? Where is that?
Oh, that's maybe like para means beside, so maybe it's like a sister group to the Cryptodyras.
Maybe. I am unsure. Systematics.
Oh no, it is a stem. It is a stem group. Yeah, it's outside. It's outside the crown group of testodynes. Yeah.
Oh, so it is outside. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So hold on. Let me go back then. Let me go back because I just wait. What the frick?
It's like the Myolania forms. Like it's outside the crown group of like all modern turtles are more closely related to each other than that one turtle is to the modern turtles is. Like it's outside the crown group.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was trying to find a. Okay, wait. Myolaniidae, like that group. Is that what you said?
It's also a stem group as well, the Myolaniids. Yeah.
So are they in? Oh my gosh, this is too much. Paracryptodyra. I need to see this. Images. Okay, here we go. I think I found a paper. That's hard to see.
I see that Wikipedia cites a few papers in the last couple of years, and they state that it's outside the crown group. Like they were previously thought to be a primitive lineage of Cryptodyrs, hence the name. But now they are outside, or now they seem to be placed outside the crown group. Yeah.
Okay. So it is outside of. Okay, so it's sister to Cryptodyra, maybe, or.
Yeah. So not only is it not a modern turtle, it's also a transitional fossil as well.
Fake news. That's literally impossible. Like, that cannot be the case. I can't believe you would say that. Okay, so so he did show a transitional fossil.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Ironic. How ironic. Complains there are no transitional fossils and shows transitional fossils in his in the video.
That's great. I love that. I love that these I love how dumb these guys are. Okay. Anyway. All right, we can keep going. Hey, where are the trilobites today?
Fossils in strata in the Cambrian period, dating back some 600 million years, once again prove that highly complex living species appeared suddenly on Earth without any ancestors. In other words,
pause for
they were created.
Okay, so notice the very rapid shift in arguments, because his argument has been throughout this entire video that everything is the same. Every fossil is the same as modern organisms, except the one exception is he shows trilobites and does not make that argument. Instead, he says they show up in the bottom layers and just, appear out of nowhere. Why does he not draw the connection? Why does he not draw the same connection that, like, there are trilobites? These are organisms that have no modern descendants. Where'd they go?
Oh, but I think Harun Yahya will maybe disagree with that. Maybe he thinks that the isopods in Antarctica
no
are trilobites. Oh, but that's a different guy, right? Or that was from a different person that made that.
No, that was Raw Matt, wasn't it?
Yeah, and also Kent Hovind, I believe, he also claimed that trilobites are still alive.
Oh, also, okay, so I found a phylogeny of turtles. Okay, so now I see, Paracryptodyra Then there's some stem cryptodires. Okay, so they are crown turtles, but it is a stem.
How old is the paper? How old is the paper?
Well, this one looks like it's from a course.
So
it's
from Geo, maybe.
It might
Geo,
be
Maryland.
Yeah, that one. So it might be a little outdated.
Yeah, like I do see like.
This other one, I don't know. It's not really important, I guess. I mean, it's a transitional fossil either way. It's either a stem turtle or it's a stem cryptodire either way. So, okay. Anyway, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
We can keep going.
The fossil record is now sufficiently rich for us to understand the true origin of life. It shows us that at no time in the past did living things ever undergo any process of transition from the primitive to the more highly developed. On the contrary, each species appeared suddenly on Earth with the same complex structure and features as its counterparts alive today.
Except, and here's the thing, that is false.
Evolutionists who have been digging up all the Earth's strata in the hope of finding evidence for their theory for the past 150 years or so have in fact themselves exhumed proof that demonstrates that their theory is false and instead that creation is an indisputable fact.
Well, I'm convinced.
I always wonder, if that is the case, then why are they called evolutionists?
True.
And why
because they want to suppress the truth of God, because they want to sin, obviously.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
That's the whole reason.
Yeah, that's it. Those damn sins.
They want to party.
Yeah.
So they have to, the paleontologists, they like throwing, parties and stuff. And so the only way to do that is to keep searching for transitional fossils. Otherwise, they would realize they can't party anymore.
And there's a party with every fossil?
Yes. You see, they like rock music. Haha. So,
Okay.
There's your dad joke for the day.
Yeah. And they use tools when they start digging because they like metal.
True.
There's your second dad joke.
I went to a metal concert not too long ago.
Uh-huh. I did not know that you like Phil Jackson.
I like some rock music. I like listening to the amethysts and the agates and quartz and things like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I found a 2020 paper that puts the para cryptodires outside the.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. It's also like that paper is also a very neat picture, figure 8, which shows a very good overview of the the paleo biology, the paleobiogeography of these lineages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see Calocaboshan on there. Do you know that one is named after a guy's butt? Do you know that?
Wouldn't surprise me. Like some of them have been named after ninjas as well. Some turtles.
But hold on, I can prove it. Calocaboshan. Where is it? Yes. Sorry, it literally means the beautiful box of Bahazid. I don't know. Nopska chose the name because, in the words of British paleontologist Gareth Dyke, the shape of the shell reminded him of Bahazid's butt. That was his lover. So there you go. A turtle.
It also reminds me of the ninja me's. Ninja Me's name.
Yeah.
Ninja Me's. Yeah, like it's named. It is named in allusion to those totally rad and fearsome, foursome, epitomizing shelled success.
That is a great name.
Yeah. I mean, you can keep going.
Okay. Oh, we attempted to conceal the fossils? Okay.
From time to time, newspapers and magazines carry reports with such headlines as 200 million year old mosquito fossil discovered, 30 million year old lizard unearthed. Readers of such reports may think
you hear that tune, the music in the background. It reminds. Yeah, but it reminds me of like National Treasure with Nicolas Cage. Am I mistaken that? It sounds exactly like that. The music from the movie. Like, do you know the movie that I'm referring to?
I mean, I'm aware of it.
Stealing the Declaration of Independence. So that movie with Nicolas Cage. It's like, now that I'm like, I keep hearing music and it reminds me of something, but now I realize, it's from that movie, if I'm not mistaken. They just stole the music from that movie, maybe.
Also, mosquitoes have only been around for about 99 million years. They have not been around for 200 million years. Just want to throw that out there. So, he said 200-year-old mosquito. That is not true.
Mm-hmm. Man, like someone in live chat, can you either confirm or disconfirm my suspicion that it's from the movie? Maybe somebody else can. Maybe somebody is a movie buff and can confirm or disconfirm.
I hope not. That would explain why all of my videos keep getting taken down by YouTube. We're getting
maybe I'll check it on like.
It would be.
Let it slide.
It would be apt to use it since now the evolutionists are stealing fossils. So there's your link. Not stealing the Declaration of Independence, but fossils instead.
That there is something special about such events, that such fossils are discovered only rarely. But the truth is very different. A large part of the Earth's strata is full of fossilized specimens of life forms that existed millions of years ago. A great many of these have been unearthed and placed under protection in countries' museums.
Okay.
Yet such fossils are constantly being unearthed in excavations today. Hundreds of thousands of fossilized spiders, ants, flies, scorpions, crabs, and frogs, all millions of years old, and fossils of a great many other species, some extinct and others not, are stored away in museums.
Okay.
And the fun fact, Jackson, they're all millions of years older than the Earth is. Makes you wonder where they came from.
Their huge numbers are not reflected in any books or newspapers. Scientific journals, forums, and discussion panels never refer to them. And why not?
What?
Because every...
Is it just me? Because
I wonder.
He just showed all of the magazines that showed the fossils that were found and then says they never showed them.
I think he said they never show how many there are, which I don't know what the point of that would be. Like, why would it matter how many we found?
I think he is expecting that every time one new specimen is described, there must be a news article mentioning it, and if it isn't, then it's all a conspiracy, apparently, because if news articles would cover every single specimen ever discovered, it would be old news, really quick, because it's so much. I don't find it surprising that news articles don't mention every single thing ever, of course. Like they of course mention every dinosaur because dinosaurs are popular. They do mention those, of course.
Yeah.
It's not a conspiracy. It's just money. Like articles are run to earn money, so they only run interesting stories that are popular, and that's it. It's not a conspiracy.
And
That's
also,
just it.
if they would report all the fossils, then the magazines would be as thick as the Rocks Volume 1.
Yeah.
True.
Thicker than Kent Hovind's skull, yeah.
or
almost as thick. Almost.
Fossil discovered by itself constitutes a fresh piece of evidence arguing against the theory of evolution. Every fossil specimen found is sufficiently persuasive to destroy the theory to which Darwinists have dedicated their lives. For the same reason, some evolutionists have tried to keep such fossils well concealed. Even today, evolutionists are still resorting to the same methods of covering.
Did you saw that grasshopper? It doesn't look like a grasshopper to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong with that. Like it didn't.
I wasn't even really looking at it. I wasn't paying particularly close.
Like they are flying by so fast, so you blink and you miss it. Yeah.
I at this point, like, I mean, they've misidentified fossils. They put up fake fossils. That they put up like bats with 8 limbs. So like, who cares? Yeah.
Eventually, the nothing is true anymore. You cannot really tell.
Right. Yeah.
After all the BS, it gets lost. Even the few instances of this is a real fossil, but still.
Then you're like, is it though? Yeah. You're like immediately cast doubt on it because of
yeah.
And now we're getting a close look at Harun Yahya's workshop. I want to know what a tidal cycle looks like.
That's probably where he keeps the other blondes.
I want to ride one. Would be cool riding a tidal cycle. Yeah. It's on screen. It's in that drawer.
Is it like a boat? Is it like a bike you ride in the water? A tidal cycle?
I have no clue, but I want one. Because I'm Dutch. We like our cycles.
Yeah.
Up evidence that disproves their theory. The most significant examples of living fossils, once discovered, are quietly hidden away. If all these fossils concealed in museum storage were made available for public examination, the truth would clearly emerge. Yet most scientists lack the courage to take such a step, because it would totally demolish the theory of evolution. But any theory that must conceal the contradictory scientific evidence and seek to establish its credentials through fraud.
Wait, that's a hominin fossil. Where are the hominins today? Where'd they go? Where are they? What? He finally shows a fossil and he's like, they're hiding the evidence of the lack of transitions. What? Okay. I'm sorry, I'm losing my mind right now. Okay. We can keep going.
Fraud and deception has in any case declared its own bankruptcy.
Okay. Dun dun dun.
Evolutionists are well aware that all the scientific evidence collected shows that the evolutionary process is nothing more than a myth.
Smitty, that is very true. There was the fake fossil
living
again.
Fossils, and indeed all other species living today, are the work of God, the Lord and Creator of all things, who created them millions of years ago and has preserved them in their perfect forms right down to the present.
Eight-legged bat. Eight-legged bat.
Eight-legged bat, please. Show me
Throughout
the
history,
eight-legged bat again.
Darwinists have been terrified that this manifest truth would come to light. But this clear and indisputable fact is now plain for all to see. And all Darwinists' endeavors in the face of it have been in vain. falsehood has been eradicated by the truth, and God, Lord of all the worlds, has once again revealed his greatness and might in the most perfect way. We did not create heaven and earth and everything in between them as a game. If we had desired to have some amusement, we would have derived it from our presence. But we did not do that. Rather, we hurl the truth against falsehood, and it cuts right through it, and it vanishes clean away. Woe without end for you, for what you portray.
Okay. You know what?
Bitch,
I do
please.
kind of... I like that we got a little bit of Quran reading instead of the Bible for once. Nice little toss-up. You gotta mix it up every once in a while.
If I understand that scripture correctly, like it's basically saying like be careful what you put out there, because you may be spreading falsehoods.
Which okay,
which is ironic, because that's exactly what you are doing.
Right? They never listen.
I like that he said woe without end. Guess what happens in 33 seconds from now?
We have an ending of woe?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Pretty animals.
There you go.
Okay. So that's it, folks. We did it. We made it through the fossil of creationist media that my beautiful wife Camilla found for us.
Yes. Sadly, Harun didn't make it.
So you can blame her for all of this.
True, I can blame her for our suffering.
I like the ending though, because in the middle of Harun Yahya, he gets whisked away off to jail and couldn't finish writing his name.
The sequel is dictated from prison, you know.
Yeah.
So okay, well we did it. I guess we can go back to our 3 screens. I think we only have 20 minutes left, so I don't think we'll start the next one. So that video, that movie, was the Harun Yahya tactic. The Infinite Jackson.
Oops. There we go.
That video was the Harun Yahya tactic on steroids, which, if you guys remember, is just showing a modern organism alongside a fossil organism and then declaring the two of them to be the same. And if you guys remember, he did that in a very glossy book that he sent to a bunch of different scientists back in the early 2000s, and it had pictures of fishing lures alongside fossils because he couldn't tell the difference, or whoever he commissioned to write the book couldn't tell the difference. But it gets worse, I guess, because it mixes up organisms. So we saw the Nidia, which is a herring relative, next to a tarpon. We saw a pipefish fossil next to a trumpetfish. We saw an 8-legged bat fossils. That was cool. And then we saw what he called a pachypleurosaur, a lizard. And then there was the Plelesuchus, which, as near as we can tell, is not a real fossil at all. So just a lot of shenanigans. So many shenanigans.
I like it that you used the term steroids, as that was what he was giving to his male followers, as opposed to the silicone and Botox that the female followers got.
Yeah.
Because
And also, we also saw a few transitional fossils as well in a
did.
video that complains about there being no transitional fossils. Yeah.
Well, the thing about this video was that it never showed anything that didn't look superficially similar to modern organisms. Also, there were a lot of groups it didn't show at all. That I thought was kind of interesting. Like, for instance, he never showed like. I don't think he ever really covered like mammals. Really, there really weren't that many mammals covered in this.
Bats. There were bats.
Aside from the
Yeah.
bat, aside from the bat fossil,
octopedal. Although it is an octopedal bat, so it cannot be a mammal if it's octopedal.
I think when they got to the mammal with 8 limbs, they thought no more mammals because let's not have this.
Yeah. It's let's see what else. So there weren't really a whole lot of mammals. Like they didn't cover anything like they didn't do like antelopes or giraffes or elephants or whales or which is kind of odd, right? Why wouldn't they pick those? I don't know. There were a bunch of different groups. I mean, they just kind of did like kind of vague or general arthropods, kind of general a few reptiles, a few fish. So
But
a lot of small things. It was pretty much all
you
small
mentioned
fossils.
whales and elephants. Could it be that the fossils in the fossil record don't look exactly like the ones we have right now? Could that be it?
It could be the case. It could certainly be the case. Noticeably, they showed no non-avian dinosaurs, which was a little odd. A huge and very well-known group. I think if I were a creationist and I were watching this video, I'd probably be wondering why didn't they show any dinosaurs? And if you remember, at one point they show this picture in the video and they just put a big X over it, which is funny because these are all known fossil. All these organisms are known fossil organisms. We have found all of those. So where were they? Where are the pterosaurs in this video?
Even Kent Hovind has talked about the plesiosaur that we still see every once in a while in Loch Ness.
Yeah. So it's kind of odd that they were very selective with the sorts of fossils that they brought up. They never brought up like the reptile mammal transition, for instance. There was nothing there. I don't think they ever really talked about. I don't know. The bat is really the only thing I can think of. They never brought up horses because they showed horses and they showed dolphins in the little video, but I don't think they ever brought those up.
And as Aaron Ross, producer, I have to say they didn't show any snakes either.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I don't remember ever seeing any snakes. Yeah. Nope. Interesting. Yeah, you got to wonder like why they chose the specific groups that they did. I wonder what their process was for that.
Can I have a guess?
All right, take a guess.
Because the guy in the video held up the fossils. I mean, would be hard to hold up a fossilized elephant or a whale.
They could show a picture of a bird of like a horse skeleton or something like that. I would imagine. Maybe they just didn't show very many. Well, no, I guess that's not entirely true. They showed a lot of vertebrates, but they were mostly fish. I was trying to think of like maybe they didn't want to show something that would be difficult for their audience to conceptualize what it was. So like maybe they wouldn't show an elephant, for instance, because the trunk doesn't fossilize. So showing a picture of an elephant skeleton, they'd be like, oh, where's the trunk? Because a lot of the organisms they showed were very well preserved. So you could make out most of the organism and you wouldn't have to like imagine very hard what it looked like. That might have been why they picked the ones that they did, which is why they relied so heavily on like amber fossils, mesopit fossils, things like that. because they're just very well preserved. That'd be my guess.
And they also wanted to keep it generic, right? So you have a fossilized fly and a fossilized bird.
Mm-hmm.
They could,
and I do it.
Yeah, they could have put up a fossilized mammal and just not explain what it was, and then
it's just a mammal. Don't you know there's only one mammal species? Yeah, the mammal kind. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nestle, what do you think?
Oh, sorry, I was looking at something else and for the past few minutes. I apologize.
What was your take on the video?
More of the same BS that we have seen before. Although this is the original BS in a way, so it may be like like a, how do you call it again? The retro version of creationism, like very old fashioned.
What?
Oh, Nan points out that there was the tiger skull. I did forget about that. That's right. Yeah. And they said it was like 27 million years old or something like that, which is like way older than Panthera is. So yeah.
What's also disappointing, I don't know if you've noticed, but these were all shorter episodes that were then combined in one video CD, because that's the favorite. I mean, he's got to be a little bit more modern than Kent Hovind, who's still talking about his videotapes. But so these were all.
This was a CD.
Yeah, these were all short episodes that were then combined. And if you look at all of the episodes, it was pretty repetitive, right? I mean, every single fossil came back in every single episode, as if they didn't have enough fossils to fill multiple episodes, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, you're right. We saw, because we joked about it, we saw the bat multiple times. We saw the Pachypleurosaur multiple times. Yeah, we saw they showed Nydia, I think, in every single section. They talked about him a lot.
The turtle came by several times too.
Yes, the Pleilesuchus. Yeah, there were a bunch of them that
and
we
the
just
seahorse.
kept seeing over and over. And the seahorse. Yeah, we saw the seahorse like every time. Yeah, it's almost like they were. It's funny because at the end of the video is him talking about how there are endless numbers of fossils, and yet he showed a very small group, a very carefully curated number of fossils over and over and over again. It's almost like he didn't want to show a lot more fossils because that might undermine the thesis.
I think I know. The evolutionists hid all the other ones.
Oh, this is all the ones that we have access to were the ones in that video. Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. I forgot we can't talk about other fossils because we get whisked away.
It's weird. It's if you pick any creationist, they keep going back to the same thing over and over and over again. They never get to newer fossils, recently discovered fossils. Always the same thing, repetitive. And every creationist outlet has their own specific set of fossils that they like to talk about.
Yeah, RJ has a term for that. He calls it xenoslicing, after the Xeno paradox, where you have to go like half the distance to a place, and then half of the next distance, then half of the next, and half, and so on, so on. So it's like you never reach, the end. And so but the xenoslicing is what creationists like to do. Is, I was actually talking about this with Camilla earlier, is they separate every data point until they're away from each other, and the creationists argue that, well, each data point in isolation is not an argument on its own, but they don't want you to put the data points together to form a cohesive argument. They want them to all be separated. So in the case of the Casey Luskin article that I was reading on Tiktaalik, he says, oh, Tiktaalik has a humerus, well, that doesn't matter because a bunch of fish have a humerus. So, it flips that off. And he says, oh, well, actually, he skips the ulna, but he kind of says, like, oh, it has an ulna and radius. Well, I don't really care about that. Its radius is kind of different from that of modern tetrapods. So he just kind of flips that off. Then he goes to the carpals and he says, oh, the carpals, well, these are kind of different from that of the tetrapods. So we don't really care about this. So it's like each part of it is, he wants it to be separated. He says, like, I don't care about each part in isolation, but it's the whole thing together that is important, is the fact that Tiktaalik has a humerus and radius and ulna and carpals and also some radials that are homologous to our digits. It's the fact that it has all of those in the order that we have these things that make it important. Like, that's what matters. And so
I believe the lungfish and also the coelacanth do have a humerus, but no radius or ulna, right? They have the first bone.
Let me see, lungfish, fin. Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Yeah, I think like the like one feature of Sarcopterygians is they have like one bone connecting the fin to the.
No, they do. Yeah. They have a radius and ulna.
Oh, they also have a radius and ulna?
Yeah, so they have a radius and ulna, but then they have a bunch of radials. Well, okay, so in the case of the lungfish, it has like a long, like straight line of radials, which obviously, like the tetrapodomorphs don't have. So, but yeah, here I'll show you. I'll send a paper here in the side chat or in our public chat. There you go. So yeah, so they do have the radius and ulna, but their radials are completely different from that of the tetrapodomorphs. So anyway, but yeah, I think it's I believe it is that combination of humerus, radius, and ulna that is like kind of diagnostic for Sarcopterygians. And then of course our ancestors built on that more. When did this paper come out? Oh, 2020. Sarcopterygian fin ontogeny elucidates the origin of hands with digits. Oh.
Hey.
Interesting.
Long time no see, Doc Savage. How are you doing?
Doc Savage, hello. Welcome to the show. Hello, hello. Good to see you. Oh, I don't know why you're not a moderator. Let's make you a moderator. There you go. There you go. Yeah. So
now
anyway.
You have the power.
So
yeah.
So basically, what's really annoying about Luskin is that he tries to do that xenoslicing thing where he puts each thing in isolation to argue that, well, it doesn't matter. Well, each of these things doesn't matter in isolation. Well, that's true, which is why you don't put them in isolation. That's a really dishonest thing to do. But hey, that's creationism, right? They love doing silly, dishonest things. That's like their favorite thing.
Yeah, this is something that we also have seen like in like one of our videos on the ancestor stele. Like I believe it was the hippo stele, where we also covered something about like AIG, talking about some transitional whale fossils. Like they were like, oh, this whale fossil. I believe it was AG cetus, which they say like, oh, it's a pinniped because it's a pinniped because the sternum is still connected to the ribs because like it has a sternum,
which was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. It's the complete wrong size. It's huge compared to pinnipeds. Like it was such an insane argument. It's silly. Yeah, we did talk.
Like one argument they used to dismiss the AG cetus or AG cetus as just a pinniped because the sternum, how was the common name for the sternum again? The bone in the middle of your chest, basically.
Oh, I just say sternum.
A sternum, yeah. But they say that they point out that the sternum is still connected to the ribs of the animal, but in modern worlds it is no longer connected, I believe. Yeah, but then when they turn to Basilosaurus, they say like, oh, it's a whale, but it also has its sternum still connected to the ribs. So it's like they apply their criteria inconsistently to dismiss one as a pinniped and to accept one as it's just a whale. Yeah.
Yeah, that's also funny enough what Luskin is doing in the article, because he says that the carpals of Tiktaalik are different from that of true tetrapods, which is true. And then he later says, look, Tulerpaton has carpals like a true tetrapod, which it also isn't, and it also doesn't. The carpals of Tulerpaton are all in parallel with each other, which I don't know if you guys have ever seen a scan of your wrist. That is not what your wrist bones look like. They are not all sitting in parallel. They're all kind of clustered together. So like it's very silly. It's as you said, he's applying the same criterion but very inconsistently, because it's like it works. It's like heads I win, tails you lose, that sort of thing. So you always have to apply it in such a way that the other person you're talking to loses. So
yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of why, like, I feel that I know I've talked about this before on this channel, but this is kind of why I feel that I think my days of doing creationism stuff, unless someone wants to come on the channel and debate us, are probably drawing to a close, because what I want to do is finish the Ancestor's Tale eventually, good lord, and then I want to do like a series on a climate change denial book, and we'll go through that. And so I want to move more into other conspiracies, battling things like, I know we've done a little bit of like anti-vax stuff in the past. I'd like to do more of that. I'd like to do climate change denial. I don't really want to do flat Earth. I don't really find that particularly interesting. I'd rather do other ones, other stuff other conspiracies I find more interesting. Alien conspiracies are another one that I just don't really care about. Like they're just not really interesting to me. But
let the military just keep chasing a like what's the saying again? Chasing a wild goose.
Yeah.
How do you? Yeah. That's the English saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let them keep chasing this wild goose on their own. Like for some reason in the recent years, the military was like, "Oh, we found these were strange."
Oh,
strange
no.
images.
It wasn't the military. It was one dude.
The Pentagon, right? Or not?
No. So he was in the military. It wasn't the military. It was this one dude in the military who has been doing this for like 15 years, something like that. And every like few years, he like apparently comes back and says like, I found the proof this time. And somehow, I don't know how, somehow he finally managed to get a congressional interview. I don't know how that happened. He should not have. He's a lunatic. Because he claims that like it was like the aliens are capable of like time travel or something like that, and that he's been. So yeah, that dude's insane. I don't know why anyone gave him the time of day. He does not deserve it. He's loony. If anybody remembers what his name was, let's see, guy or alien, what was it? Alien congressional hearing, maybe.
But I also remember like Thunderfoot covering these things on his channel, and there was like one instance when they you see this like a black and white view of something, and they locked onto a dot that was apparently moving very fast, but it was just a duck, and it appeared to move very fast relative to the background because its perspective.
It was a duck?
The plane. Yeah, or maybe something else, or maybe a bird or something like that.
Okay.
They like the people there say like, oh no, it's it cannot be a bird because it's moving so fast, too fast for a bird. But then you have to account for the fact that you are also moving, and so you have parallax, right? You have parallax. The background appears to be moving from your perspective, basically, and they did not account for that. It's really stupid.
I found the guy. His name is David Grush, and I put the Wikipedia page in the side chat. Yeah, testifying in a 2023 hearing before the U.S. House Committee on Oversight and Accountability. Yeah, this guy's insane. He's the one who claims like aliens are capable of time travel and stuff. So I have no care for him and his stupid claims. David Grush, aliens.
He sounds like a really good pick for Trump's administration. He'd fit right in with.
He claims that he's like been visited by the aliens, that he's met them.
Of course,
that was part of his claim.
He was the
I
Pentagon.
Don't know if I can.
He was the Pentagon spokesperson for aliens, kinda.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if I'll be able to find the article where he said that, but it was somebody did a report on him where he talked about being visited by the aliens. Oh. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I wonder if I don't know if I can find it. Anyway, we're past the 2-hour mark now, so I don't care that much. Anyway, the point I was trying to make was that what I would like to do is move away from creationism, because RJ and I will have finished Rocks Volume 2 next year. We're going to get that done, and my channel will have fought creationism now for 8 years. Can you guys believe it? This channel's been fighting creationism for 8 years now. I think I put enough time into this venture that I can move on to some other conspiracy. What's interesting is that I've been doing a lot of reading recently on conspiracy theories and propaganda more broadly. And what has kind of what has been intriguing to me is seeing how broad the same sorts of arguments are. That, like, when we argue with creationists, those same lines of argumentation are used across a wide spectrum of other conspiracies. And that's really interesting to me. So I'd love to, sort of look at that more broadly, because we've had the same arguments with creationists about what does information mean for 8 years now. They haven't come up with anything new. They're not going to come up with anything new. When you ask them, like, what would you consider a transitional fossil? They're not going to tell you.
No.
Like, they don't know anything about these subjects. We know that. So, like, so they really don't have anything left to offer. And so I'd like to look at other conspiracies and stuff and see if I can
Jackson
kind of be a bit broader. So,
cover
anyway.
the flat Earth.
No, flat Earth. No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do flat Earth. I really don't. They're even dumber than creationists. I'm sorry. Anyone who thinks that, like, anyone who thinks the Earth is flat is just beyond hope. I can't. There's nothing we can do about that. I don't. No, it's not worth our time.
Whenever you meet a flat earther, just tell them to debate Kent Hovind.
Doesn't he just call them stupid?
No, he won't. He won't debate flat earthers. Even Kent Hovind thinks they're too stupid to debate. So
that's pretty funny.
You got to give him points for that at least. But then also he couldn't. He couldn't debate them because he wouldn't know enough about the fact.
Sure, he doesn't know any physics.
No.
Yeah, or geography or anything. Yeah.
But it's so cathartism that you can see how Kent Hovind gets a taste of his own medicine by dealing with people who are, like, even on his level, dumb. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're going to call it. So thank you, everybody, for watching, and we will see all of you next week with a new video. You get to suffer through something else.
Yes.
So, all right. Well,
a little bit more sophisticated than Harun Yahya, though.
No, just a
A little
bit, not a
bit.
whole lot.
A little bit.
Yeah. Sadly, we will be without our favorite Nestlig, so we will have to make do as we can. So, well, thank you guys for joining me here, and thank you everybody in the live chat for watching, and we will see all of you next time. So, bye everybody.
Bye all.